Hey guys, let's do it. This is test corrections for Form B, Part A. So make sure you are on Form B. So it says this must be a parallelogram. Well, we know parallelograms, the diagonals are cut into equal parts. So x plus 5 and the 2y have to equal each other. The x plus 5 has to equal the 2y. And the other set of diagonals, GH, 3x minus 5, has to equal the 5y plus 1 because pieces of the diagonals get cut in equal pieces called bisecting. Okay, so now we just solve. So we could solve by elimination, or we could solve, it looks like we could just subtract 5 on both sides and get x by itself with one step. So here we have it. X we know is equal to this expression, and we can substitute it in. Now, if I talk too fast, this is on YouTube, and you can slow down the video. So slow it down if I'm writing too fast. Okay, so let's distribute. And let's see, eliminate. So I get y, 1y. So I get y is 21. Okay. Now, I solved the mystery of the y, so we can plug that in to find what x is. So 2 times the 21 minus the 5. So I get x is equal to 37. Good job. Now let's take a look at question 2. We know that rectangles, opposite sides are equal. So this side, 2x plus 6, has to equal to 4y. And this side, 8x, has to equal 8y plus 8. These are plus signs. Okay. Now, this I could probably solve two ways. I could solve by elimination. See how I'm close. 2x, if I minus the 6 on both sides, I get 2x is equal to 4y minus 6. Notice I can divide by 2 on every part. Okay, so now we can substitute this in. There is way more than just one way to do this problem. This is just one of the ways you could have done it. 8 times 3 is 24. So if we divide by 8 on both sides, 32 divided by 8 is 4. Now let's plug this in here. So x is equal to 2 times 4 minus 3. So x is equal to 5. Oops. Take a minute to slide that up. So x is 5, y is 4. Next one. What's the value if ABCD must be a parallelogram? Okay, so ABCD must be a parallelogram. So 21, and then it says use the property of opposite. So A and C are opposite, and if it's a parallelogram, they have to be equal. So let's set those equal. 21 is equal to 4x minus 2. Why? Because angle A has to equal angle C because they are opposite angles. Now for these, this is 3x and this is 6y plus 12. They're opposite, so they have to be equal. So angle B has to equal angle D because that's what we recognize in parallelograms. Angle B is 3x, D is 6y plus 12. Okay, so how do we solve? So some students maybe divided each of these by 3 and got x by itself. Okay, so now we have x by itself. We can substitute, whoops, almost made a mistake there. Substitute in for the x. So 21 is equal to 4 times this minus the 2y. Okay, so we'll just kind of move it along right here. We get, divide both sides by 6. That goes away. So y is equal to 5, 6. Okay, so I get the decimal 0.83 repeating. Okay. So up here, y is equal to 5, 6, or 0.83 repeating. Now, keeping it in my calculator, I can substitute it back in. So keeping it in my calculator, I know that y is equal to 5 sixths, and then I add 4. You could also keep it in your calculator, 2 times 0.83 repeating plus 4. So it's in my calculator, so I multiply by 2 and add 4. I get 5.6 repeating. Okay, so 5.6 repeating. If you wanted to know what the fraction was, we can practice combining fractions. So before we do, though, this would cancel and I would get 3. So I'm adding 5 thirds plus 12 thirds because 12 thirds is the number 4. So now I can add this 17 thirds. Let's see if that would be the same decimal. 17 divided by 3 is the same decimal. Okay, so that's my, I would also accept 17 thirds as the answer or the decimal. Great, let's keep going. Okay, so it says the rectangle math, okay, so M-A-T-H, A-H, so that's a diagonal, and M-T, that's a diagonal. If it's a rectangle, we know diagonals are equal. So A-H has to equal M-T. So 2b plus 10 has to equal 7b plus 3. So let's solve. So b is equal to 7/5. That's my answer. If you turn it into a decimal, that's 1.4. Now it also says, so some of you got that right, but then you forgot to plug it back in to find the length of the diagonal. So this diagonal is 2b plus 10. So 2 times 7/5 plus 10, or 2 times 1.4 plus 10. Let's do it. I get 12.8. If you plugged it in for the other one, you should get the same. So the diagonal should equal 12.8. Okay. What about this one? Well, this one's a rhombus, and we know by observation that the rhombus diagonals meet at a 90. So we know the measure of angle 1 is 90, the measure of angle 2 is 90, and the measure of angle 3 is 90, because that's where those diagonals meet, 90 degrees. So now let's take a look. We also know angle 1 is 15x. So we can substitute. We know angle 2 is 3x plus 10y. And we know angle 3 is 18z equal 90. So using, we now have 3 algebra equations. So dividing both sides by 18, we get z is equal to 90 divided by 18. That's 5. This one we could do with one step. 90 divided by 15. We get 6. All right, and now we know what x is. We can solve for y. So 3 times 6, because x is 6, plus 10y equal 90. So I get 18 plus 10y equal 90. When I subtract 18 on both sides, I get 72. So when I divide by 10, y is equal to 7.2. All right, so y is equal to 7.2. All right, let's do number 6. Work is a rectangle. So hopefully you drew a rectangle, W-O-R-K. Okay, it says the value A, find the value of A and the length of each diagonal. So OK is a diagonal and WR is a diagonal. And we know that if they're rectangles, diagonals are equal. So let's set these equal to each other and solve. Again, if I'm going too fast, just pause or slow down the tape. So A is 4.3, 4 over 3, which is 1.3 repeating. So I would take either of those answers. Now, it also says, some of you forgot, it says now find the length of diagonal. So I can substitute this back into either diagonal, 4 times the A, 4 times the 4/3, plus the 5, or if you have it on your calculator, 4 times the 1.3 repeating, plus the 5. So it's already on my calculator. Times the 4 plus the 5, I get 10.3 repeating. So I would have accepted in question number 6, A is 4/3 or 1.3 repeating, and the diagonal is some fraction or 10.3 repeating. So I'm looking for either one of those answers. So let's see what the fraction would be. So we have 16/3 plus 15/3, right? Because that's the same number. And we get 31/3. So let's double check that these two are the same number. Yep, 31/3 is 10.3 repeating. So I would have also accepted 31/3. Great job. Check out the next video.